What's up? Welcome back to another episode of Big Classic Talk, the podcast, with my co-host here, Walter Sellers.
Hey, yo.
My other co-host here, Rashad Scott. And, of course, yours truly, Fred Biggie Smalls. And today we have an amazing guest, a trainer that's been with me for how many years you've been here now? 5 years.
Yeah! Cinco.
I've seen him progress from being deer in headlights, bright-eyed, learning everything, to being the man with a team behind him now. He's creating champions himself, and is about to become a champion himself in, 10 weeks? Right?
Yeah. 9 to 10. I lost count.
Yeah, well, so he's doing big things. I've seen him do some wonderful things with all different athletes, powerlifters, wellness athletes, bodybuilders, and developing their physiques. And I just thought it'd be a disservice to my audience not to have the man on to share some of his knowledge and what makes him tick and how he gets people motivated and gets people to become their best self. So thank you for being on the podcast, Tom.
Thank you for having me.
I'm going to butcher his last name. So what's your last name?
Cedeno.
Cedeno, yeah, right. So I always mess it up. So you got your powerlifting meet coming up here on 6/24. How you feeling about your training right now?
Really good, actually. Everything's been moving. Squat's been moving. That's always been my worst lift. Bench is definitely moving. Like we're going to solidify that 400 finally, and it's going to be with ease. So, and deadlift's always deadlift. That's my specialty. So.
Okay.
Cool.
So before this meet, what's your PR for deadlift?
Before this meet, in the meet or in the gym?
Like, we'll do both.
All right. So in the meet, the best I pulled was 615, which was last year. We just stayed conservative with that just so that we can get the number solidified. The total increase, because that's always the goal. In the gym, my best has been 635, and then 655 with a little reverse band. But yeah, I'm hoping to pull that 635 on the platform.
Okay.
So you doing equipped or you doing the raw?
Raw.
Raw? Good. Nice.
Not that I don't want to get into equipment later.
Okay.
I definitely want. I got goals for raw first, and then I'll talk to my coach and see what he thinks.
So just for the people out there, there's a difference between raw and lifting equipped. Lifting equipped, you're wearing a suit or a specialized onesie, basically. It's a little bit thicker than a normal singlet that you would wear, say, for wrestling or something like that. These singlets are 1-ply, 2-ply, 3-ply.
Denim?
Yeah, whatever. Yeah. But basically, they give you more support, so it makes lifts not necessarily easier, but just different. So they give you some additional stability. So lifting raw is always seen as something that's a lot, in my opinion, a lot more genuine when it comes to powerlifting.
And it's a whole different technique, though, right? When you're doing geared lifting as opposed to raw lifting, right? Because I've seen, I lifted in gear, but we had single ply shirts. That was always available. Single ply, and there was 2 companies, Marathon and Enzer, when I was doing it. Is Marathon still around?
I'm actually not sure.
Okay, yeah, so...
Enzer's definitely not going anywhere.
yeah, Enzer's is the king of it, right?
SBD, isn't that one of them too?
That's for the raw.
Okay,
Raw
okay.
Yeah, so when, Enzer, they had their single ply suit, and we used to take pride in it because it would slice you all the way through your armpit when you wear it. You're like, yeah, battle scars, you know what I mean? I was only 21 years old using them. But to kind of give you an idea on how much of it, once I got the technique behind it, without a shirt, I could probably press, at that time, at a body weight of 198, I was probably pressing high 360s. Maybe 380, but I was doing 445 in a bench shirt. So once I got it, once I learned how to use it properly, because you can mess you up and go less.
Yeah.
Like you hit the wrong groove, it's a wrap in your face, right? And now here's the crazy one. I seen a guy who could barely bench 500, had the ones that wrap around the back that only go over the shoulders, canvas, and he benched almost 9.
That's crazy.
So, but again, he had to learn how to use it, right? Because you got to put enough weight, you got to be able to stabilize the weight, you got to be able to pull it down to your chest and then throw it up, as opposed to just benching. Right. Once you get your technique, your traps locked in, and everything, your scapula locked in. It's a much different animal, different beast, but it's cool to see somebody move that much weight.
It's amazing.
Yeah. Now, the guys I grew up with, Anthony Clark, seeing him reverse grip bench 805,
Wow.
That's fucking sick.
That is
insane.
That's
psycho.
crazy.
How does wrist stand up to that? That's like
Yeah, but that's the way he benched, man. He was just, and I seen him in person, short fucker, you know.
forearms look like this.
Oh, it was huge, man.
It gotta be huge.
But 8 something, and it was amazing to see in person. And then I was fortunate enough to be on the team with Nick Best and Ed Cohn, and now I see Ed now, and he's, man, the stuff we've done to our bodies is crazy. Just
Sure.
be prepared, young fella, because when you get in your 40s, you're gonna be hurting.
I'm ready. I'm already hurting. But
I was watching Halfdoor just the other day, tore his pec
Yeah,
in the middle of the meet. You know, it's.
I heard about it. What happened?
Honestly,
So
I didn't
basically,
see-
he did his first with like 440. Then he made a big jump to like 500, and as soon as it came down, you saw it.
God. Yeah.
And so obviously Trigilli,
I know that.
obviously Trigilli's been all over it, right?
Right,
Because
right,
you know,
right.
so Trigilli said it's torn off the bone, but I haven't seen any reports afterwards that said anything about it. But you know, he was trying to set the new world record for the big 3 altogether for the biggest combined meet.
Okay.
And
Now
raw,
was he raw lifting?
raw
Yeah,
lifting.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And it was.
I mean, you know, it's great. He missed his third attempt on the squat. I think he got it to 900 or something. The bench press number, to tell you the truth, in my opinion, it just wasn't that impressive for a guy that weighs 400 pounds.
5 something.
No, 440. His jump was the 5 something he tore it.
Oh shit.
So you know, you would think that guy would open with 500 at
Yeah.
a guy that big. So he never got a chance to deadlift because you know.
Well, at least he had spotters.
They were shitty. They were shitty because, like, you can tell. Like, I've competed in a couple of powerlifting meets too. You should be able to tell that you can tell if you're spotting in that type of event with these type of athletes, you got to be aware. You got to be look at the motion of the athlete to be able to tell if they're going to make it or not. So they should have been able to, in my opinion.
Humble opinion.
In my humble opinion, they should have been able to do something to prevent that type of injury.
How much weight was it?
500 something, I believe.
On what bench?
Yeah.
I mean, again.
They weren't like normally, like when I do events, the spotters will follow the bar down
Oh, they
and up. They didn't follow the bar
Oh,
down.
okay, never mind.
So, you know,
Yeah, you're supposed to be with it.
they should have been with them the whole time. Right.
Same thing with squat.
Yeah.
Big
With
squats.
squats?
You gotta.
gotta
They'll
be
have
under
2
it.
people. Usually they'll have somebody with the bar and then somebody with the plates.
Right.
That's the way it's gotta be. 2 people on each side, especially for
should
those
be.
big boys, man.
So I was watching the SBD contest, I guess it was in Texas recently. What's the brother that squats like 1,200 pounds?
Are you saying squat bench deadlift? Is that what
That,
SBD
no,
said?
that's what I'm saying. That's what the.
Nah, I mean something else.
It's a company. It's the clothing company.
Okay.
Yeah, it did something else. I got that. I see what
Not right now.
That's for Tuesdays only. So, but no, I was watching this guy do 1,200, on the squat raw. That was bananas.
That's crazy.
Yeah, there's a couple impressive. Damn, one guy, Jose Oliveras,
Mm-hmm.
big boy, super heavyweight, but yeah, he just squatted. Damn, was it 1,000? Was definitely like 1,050 something or
Yeah.
1,030 something. Easy.
Yeah.
Freaks out there, man.
What is your goal set? Like eventually.
So once I finally, because like I said, squat's been my biggest enemy, and I've also just had shit knees. So it's like rehabbing all those back. Now it's starting to really move, and perfecting my technique basically. Once I get to, my coach and I were talking. Once I get to 600 in sleeves, we're gonna start rapping. I'm hoping to at least end my raw career with an 800-pound deadlift, maybe a little more than that. That'd be awesome. I know I'll definitely get there on deadlift before then, but I'm definitely hoping to even end my raw career with a 1,000-pound deadlift. I'm hoping for that.
And what made you go raw and not? Cause for me, it was my coach. Like my coach never even gave me an option to go raw. It was geared lifting from day one. And actually, the first time I was even in a squat suit was the day of the meet, right? Because I didn't know what it was about. They were like, we need somebody to fill in for the team. So they put me in there. And I happened to do okay. So what made you gravitate towards raw lifting as opposed to geared lifting?
Honestly, because I didn't even know about it.
Right.
When I first discovered powerlifting, I just saw a bunch of raw guys, and I'm sorry. What really drew me in to even powerlifting in general was when I came across Dan Green, I think it was 2016, in the animal cage at the Arnold. And he deadlifted 900 pounds beltless, conventional, and he's a sumo puller. Yeah, like that, I was like, I want to do that. That's awesome. And then, of course, what got me into the coaching side is like, just like how, it's amazing how somebody's body, like how do you build somebody to be able to do something like that?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that's what really just drew me into coaching. But for powerlifting, I just saw raw at first. And then as I started getting into it and seeing the equip guys, because I'm in the conjugate, I'm like, yeah, I'm going to try that at some point.
Yeah. So, and did you start out doing conjugate, or that's something you...
It's something that I kind of came across by accident and then gave it a go. And then once I delved deeper into it and like the history of it and then like the freaks that were using it, like I was like, yeah, this is it. Like I started off just regular like linear progression, basic stuff, like finding like what was it, like sample programs online. Actually through Brian Allsrue, he's a strongman guy down in Maryland. He's actually been to the training center like years ago, but you know, he would put out a bunch of sample programs, and you just kind of plug and play. And then he put out a conjugate one, and then I was just like, I've always heard about it, but it always seemed like it was so complicated. That's why. But then, like I said, as I started delving deeper into it, I actually self-coached myself into my first meet in 2019 using conjugate.
Okay.
And I added so much on. I mean, of course, like, at that point, I didn't really know exactly how to start it or how I should have started it. So I started off rip, like, when it came to dynamic days, like, just trying to go fast, going against bands. I would bury myself. But I got better at it, mastering it little by little, and yeah, I've seen nothing but success.
So for the uninitiated, what is the conjugate training style?
So basically, it's just a bunch of methods put together. For absolute strength, you have your max effort days, and which we have two of those. Your max effort lower is for your squat and your deadlift. Basically, yes, you are essentially maxing out, but we don't. As a raw lifter, you don't exactly follow the West Side way, where they're just going up to singles. Week in and week out, you will burn yourself out. You got to have some sort of volume in there. And then for your max effort upper, obviously it's based around the bench. Work up to a nice heavy single, double, triple, whatever it might be, just to keep it simple. All the accessories to follow, build off of those lifts. And I mean, that's where the max effort day is great too, because obviously working with the maximum weights, that's where you'll see technical breakdowns. You're not really going to see technical breakdowns with, you know, sub-maximal or anything less than that. So that's where you'll be able to see sticking points, just failure points altogether. Obviously, if you're failing a lockout, that's all triceps, so guess what? We're going to build the triceps. And then same thing when it comes to squat and deadlift. If you're failing lockout, usually it's your ass is weak. I tell everybody that all the time when I see them. They get offended, but that's my job. When it comes to your dynamic days, strictly for getting fast. Can't move heavy weight slow. You got to learn how to accelerate through. A lot of people will, I see it with a lot of the SBD guys. I'm not shitting on other styles of training. We all have our feelings with it. But I see like a lot of the guys that do like the SBD type stuff. They'll go, like if they're working up to a single or something, they'll go for, if they're going for a PR, whatever the case is, they'll feel it get heavy and they stop. They just completely quit. That's what I love about doing conjugate. When you're doing your max effort stuff and you know, you're going against bands, especially bands, but bands and chains, it teaches you how to keep accelerating through because that grind because it gets so heavy at the top, and usually it'll be something heavier than what you're actually able to move straight weight. So now your CNS is getting primed, you're feeling that weight in your hands or on your back or whatever the case is, whatever the lift is, and then when you eventually work up to that type of weight, it's going to be like nothing.
Right.
You know?
So, are you doing bands and chains in exchange instead of doing like lockouts and heavy walkouts and stuff like that?
Absolutely.
I mean, are they interchangeable?
I mean, they are very interchangeable. Yeah, that's another thing about this style of training is you can literally manipulate it any way that you want. Obviously, it was made famous off of powerlifting, but I use it for athletes, whether it's baseball, football, whatever the case is. A lot of MMA fighters use it. Yeah, when it comes to the different styles of training the certain lifts, like you can interchange it. I've even had where I would come and do a heavy walkout, hold it for 6 seconds, walk it back in, take a little bit of a break, strip it down, and then do my squat.
Okay.
Like we would do it before that, just
So
priming the CNS.
Priming the CNS, yeah. Yep. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I mean, we also use blocks and stuff like that, so that's great for lockouts.
Mm-hmm.
Usually for raw, we don't go no more than like a two board. You know, that's high enough.
Right.
That'll usually put you right above your sticking point. You can really overload the triceps like that. Again, hold a lot more weight than what you can usually probably bring down to your chest and push back up. So,
Sure.
I use a pin press sometimes for that, where I'll get in the box and push it up. You know, we use, like, I work out with some guys on the weekends, on Sundays. We do about chest day together, and that's what we do. Like, they're all powerlifting guys, nobody bodybuilds, but everyone does powerlifting, and every kind of method we use: chains, bands, blocks, everything. So, you know, it's good to see different input. You know, we even use some apps to help us trying to make sure that we hit that 1 meter per second on the acceleration, going all the way up into the lockout. You know, that's important too. So we'll record it, put it to the app, track our speed, our bar path, make sure everything stays straight the whole time. So those small things, like you said, you notice those imperfections the heavier you go, because you'll see where your weak points are, where the bar wobbles and it goes off the arc or whatever it is. So it's pretty cool, different stuff that's out there.
yeah, there's plenty of tools. Plenty.
Now, when you do you use percentages at all, or you just throw that out the window?
It depends. Sometimes I will use percentages, but that's mainly for dynamic days.
Okay.
And that's kind of where I might follow like the West Side way a little bit, to where not following it exactly would be, for an example, one thing that you'll see in any literature when it comes to their speed work over there is they'll use 50% bar weight for the first week plus 25% accommodating resistance. Then the following week, another 5%, so 55 plus 25, 60 plus 25, and then they swing it back down on that pendulum weight.
So for the viewers out there that are not well versed in the lingo here, when you say accommodating weight, is that what you're using with chains and things like that?
Yeah, chains and bands. Yeah, absolutely.
Gotcha.
Absolutely.
Now, so you're using it on your dynamics, so you're working through speed, so like a 65%, or you're going?
Yep. It'll be a 65% for usually a 5x5, or we're trying to build up some muscle, 6x3. Those are usually my go-tos for like the lower days. Usually it's a 9x3 for upper, and that'll usually be with alternating grips.
And that's like 1 minute, 45 seconds, how much?
Yeah, like if we're trying to build the GPP up, which is general physical preparedness, for those that don't know, that kind of like has to do with your recovery, right? So in between lifts, or like if you're carrying it over to game day on the field, or carrying it over to the meet, you're going to be recovering like that, unlike everybody else. And that was actually proven to myself, my last meet last year. By the time we got to deadlifts, everybody's around me just huffing and puffing, dying, and I'm sitting there ripping my warm-ups, and they actually stopped and asked me, like, how do you have so much energy left? Like, it's just because of the way I train. So, yes,
We train different.
we
Train different.
I
Oh,
was
man.
not a fan of
Anyway. Yeah, so typically we'll do between 45 seconds to 60 seconds. But sometimes dynamic days might turn into somewhat maximal effort. Like we might run it up, especially like coming into a meet. Like that's something that my coach does with me. We'll go upwards of like 90 seconds. And like that's still within like that range of
On a max effort day?
on a dynamic day.
Dynamic day, okay.
See, this is where it gets confusing because sometimes you can
I
really
just wanted
like
to
switch it.
I just wanted to make sure.
Yeah.
And when you're saying you have 2 of this, 2 of that, that's within a 7-day period.
What do you mean?
2 max effort.
Yes, I'm
Right.
sorry.
1 upper max effort, 1 lower max effort, 1 dynamic, 1 dynamic. So typically you're training 4 days a week?
4 days a week.
Okay, all right, gotcha. And when, so let's just say like, So you, if I have a really good, like you said, your squat lax. I'm just asking, why not prioritize it and only make that squat and whatever's hindering your progress on one specific day outside of deadlift? Just asking.
Actually, we do.
Do
We
you?
do. That was something that we did in this off season, was to build the engine of my squat. Literally, we would still have some sort of hinging movement in there to
mimic.
to still somewhat build my deadlift. But for the most part, yes. Like, we backed it. We scaled back. That volume went sky high, and of course, in the moment, like, it sucked. It fucking sucked. But this is where you gotta tell yourself, like, all right, this is only gonna help. Because, like I said, we were talking about that the other day, where he gave me 405 squat to start, and I had to do 20 reps, and I'm like. And I'm not used to, like, that high volume anymore, so, like, I'm like, all right, cool. I could probably get to, like, 10 or 12 before I have to, like, rack it, take a break, and then continue. By the time I got to 6, the lungs started lighting up. 2 more reps, I'll get this thing off of me. I'm trying to rip my belt off, but, like, it sucks. But then as the weeks went on, it started, like, I started adapting better. And since then, like, ever since that crazy, I want to say that went on for, like, 3 blocks of just beating the shit out of my squat. It's starting to fucking move.
It's a block like a month? Or a little longer?
Usually our blocks are like, a month.
A month,
yeah.
right. Okay.
Yeah, a month.
All right, yeah. I'm just trying to, break it down. But so like little microcycles is what you're doing, basically?
Right.
All right, nice. So I'm listening to you. You got so much good stuff in there. Let me backtrack it. So how do you, since we have a lot of, I know what I want to ask you, conjugate. Now, is that conjugate his own thing and Westside created a version of it, or people saw what Westside did and now they're creating a conjugate method based on what they did, because with all the supplements and all the geared lifting they're doing, that's almost impossible to duplicate that level of intensity as a natural and as a raw lifter.
Yeah, it definitely, like, Westside paved the way when it came to the conjugate.
Okay.
They're the guys, like, the old school guys like Dave Tate and all of them, like, that's why they're so fucked up, is because they're the ones, they started off with just chains, and then when the bands were introduced, they were the ones that were figuring out how to use it. Like, in the documentary, one of the guys says, like, they started putting, like, the blues on, which are super fucking thick. They'll add, like, 200 plus at the top. And I want to say that's probably, like, each side.
Yeah.
But, like, they go to unrack it, and the dude would just fucking get folded.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, shit, all right, we need to back that up. So, like, yeah, they're the guys that paved the way and perfected it. Louis was a fucking mad scientist. And but then when it came to, like, Westside is Westside. What they do at Westside, that's considered Westside. But then, like, out here, it's literally just kanji. It's not exactly Westside. You can follow the Westside way. But to me, yes, and a lot of people will argue, oh, kanji doesn't work for raw. You obviously haven't fucking tried it. It's how you implement it. Obviously, if you train the Westside way and you are a geared lifter, and you train the way geared lifters train as a raw lifter, then you're not going to see any progress.
Right.
You have to train as a raw lifter, but you can still use it within the system, and it works. Like, a lot of people will talk shit on it. I mean, don't get me wrong. Everybody's different. Everybody's body's different. Everybody adapts differently to different types of stimulus and all that. So some conjugate might not work for some people. And
I think you have to teach your body. Your body has to get used to being able to recover faster. Right. I think that's a big part of it, because when I was trying to do it, I just found, like, for me, by the time I got to the 3rd week, I might have been going too aggressively, right? Because my body was just, like, the heavy singles, I couldn't handle over and over again. But then I was older when I tried it. But what I did find is like you said, and this is why I asked you, do you use percentages? But I did find, like, a gentleman by the name of Tommy DeChair, we got him to win a national event. And he was 16 years old, squatting 600 pounds.
Wow.
But what we did was we did Western periodization on his dynamics, and then we did true max effort days. Because when I was trying to do a heavier on both and trying to figure it out, it was like he was getting burnout too fast, right? He was young, too burnout. But when we did it purely percentage, and it was like 62.5 to 65 to 67, and all the way up to 83%, and we're going 8 sets of 3 with 30 seconds break, right? So that sounds familiar, right?
Yeah, right.
So we're doing stuff like that. And then it was crazy because on max effort days, you should take 3 to 5 minutes, but he didn't need it.
Yeah.
He didn't need it, which was amazing to me because I remember the downfall of Western periodization was when you got to the heavier weights because you weren't used to them, it was such a shock. Such a shock. So then we kind of overcame that by putting in the heavy walkouts and the heavy lockouts when we hit above 80%. Just as like, just you're doing 80% that week for, I don't know, like what, 5 sets of 3 or 5 sets of something like that. And then you might do 1 set at 85, right? Just to prime your system, and the next week you know how it feels. And then you might do heavy holds or something like that. But it's crazy to see. There's a lot of different methods. I think you got to figure out what works. But I love the conjugate method because it just makes sense, right? Like I got to learn to move heavyweight fast, which is what it comes down to, right?
That's what it comes down to.
That's what it comes down. I got to learn to move heavyweight fast. And once I learn how to do that with great technique, and I'm practicing my technique over and over and over again, so there's no shocks, right?
Absolutely.
Gotcha. So, but I love that post you had on Instagram about, one thing about me, I know how to grind, because that's the truth. Most guys, it's like we talked about with bodybuilding. They're talking about 1 set to failure. Most people don't know how to fucking fail.
Bingo.
So how can you tell me 1 set to failure is going to work on a person that doesn't know how to fail?
Yeah.
Right. That's an advanced technique to use, right?
RP, that's all. So here's a question for you. For the new powerlifter, 200-pound person, I guess is about the average American man.
Want me to get you a glass of wine and some grape upon too? Why are you sitting like that?
I'm not gonna do that. I don't need to. I'm not gonna put my legs cocked up in front of the camera. I'm not a Neanderthal.
I mean, I can't sit like that, bro. I'm sorry.
You can. I mean, you split. So
That's
I don't
uncomfortable
know.
for me.
But
But
go ahead, baby. I'm sorry.
Anyway, other fucking dudes.
I love you.
What should be someone's? What do you think the average for the big three should be? Like people talk about doing 3, 4, 5, or 4, 5, 6 plates for each individual thing. What do you think should be a good point that people should shoot for that are not necessarily casual? They want to be above average, but they don't want to be, they don't have to have a crazy number.
I mean, I usually don't like to put numbers on it. Like people will come up to me, especially like newer, and be like, "Oh, I can bench this or I can squat this at this body weight. Like, is that good?" I'm like, where you are right now is great. Just keep going. You know what I mean? But I mean, like for different weight classes, obviously there's different like how do you say like totals or whatever weights that need to be lifted to be considered like pro and elite. But like with 200 pounds, I mean, being able to squat what would it be? Like double body weight is fucking great. What about like what did I say for bench? Like for men, what?
You should know this, Mr.
Like,
Yeah, I'm like
ACS2 Street View.
It's one. What is it? It's your body weight for 10. Like we're going for reps, but like I think for max it was like 1.3 your body weight for bench, 2 times your body weight for a squat, and 2.5 for your deadlift for men.
That's what I couldn't remember. I was like, was deadlift 2.5 or 2 point?
I think
Like
it's
2 and 3.
2.5.
Yeah,
2.5 or 2.7.
2.7. I think that's what I had come across before.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
Can you do any of that?
Yeah, of course.
it's fucking shot, man.
I mean,
I'm black.
No.
Right.
What does that mean?
What I said.
No.
He said, you're right.
Technically, break it down and tell me what it means.
Okay, okay, we'll go there.
Yeah.
So, for anybody who actually wants to read the book, it's called The Sports Gene. And black people, Tom included, because he was just dropped off at a different location than the rest of us. We
Puerto
were
Rican.
exactly. We were bred differently than the average person. So we were made to be workhorses.
Which means what?
Which means, genetically speaking, we are supposed to be able to outwork anybody else just
Why?
because we're bred.
Just
to
say
be
superior.
Can't say that. No, the reason why I can't say that is because you can be bred to be a certain type of way, but nurture versus nurture, nurture versus nurture, nature.
Nature, yeah.
It doesn't matter. You could have all the great genetics in the world and not do shit with it.
Because you're
Right.
soft.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
It's like, for example, for me, the one Tose said, "Oh, you remind me of a young Flex Wheeler." I'll never reach that potential because I don't have the aspiration to.
Sure.
So
Your body's not big enough.
Exactly. So
So basically, what you're saying is because we were bred, typically we have a higher level, higher threshold fibers than the average person.
in
Correct.
certain aspects, in certain sports, yes, because scientifically speaking, they always say black people can't swim, but scientifically speaking,
Because we're denser.
no, it's because of our center of gravity. We make better sprinters, where white people make better swimmers.
But sprinters do what? What are they composed of?
Yes, we are denser for sure, but the center of gravity
Higher
is
threshold fibers, a greater number of type 2 fibers.
Correct, but we were going for the point of center of gravity.
That's science, bro.
I just said that, did I
I'm
not?
just saying. Center of gravity.
Center of
What's that
gravity.
mean?
So in other words, my max bench at 405 and my max squat at 440 and deadlifted 475 is
Well,
fine.
my great grandfather fucked me up because I got some white stuff in me.
Yeah, me
so,
too.
You know, messed me up. So I don't understand.
Part slave, man.
But yeah, so one of the reasons,
Right?
So one of the reasons that I don't like to throw numbers out there and stuff like that is because if somebody that's getting into powerlifting and wants to compete, then they hit you with the oh, I'm not strong enough to compete yet. I'm like, you are.
You are.
Just establish that total and then build off of that.
That's it.
You know?
That was my biggest thing when my first powerlifting meet, and then after that, just do different. Just do it. That's one of the things that people always talk about. Oh, I can outbench you. No, you can't. No, you can't. I can count on one hand, maybe two hands, people in this world that can outbench me. Outbench me that I know personally. So yeah, good luck. Well, how do you know? Well, because I know I compete, and I never seen you there. So
Tells me enough.
right, it tells me all I need to know. And like you said, the nature versus nurture. This is what I've been doing since I was 13 years old. Cause it's not something you can't just wake up and go say, I'm gonna go lift. Yeah, you ain't hurt your walk because you're not doing 1,200 push-ups in the morning before you go to work. So,
I did have a coach one time that made me do 300 push-ups every single day. And
yeah, I'll do it.
and what I will say is, all it did was hurt my shoulders. That's it.
Big
All it
delts. Get the big,
all-
the big front
all
delts,
it did
boy.
hurt my shoulders. Because then when I go and train, so this is what I think happens a lot. People apply principles wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So for the kid who can't get to the weight room, to do 1,200 push-ups every day is going to create a level of maturity and density to the muscle that's going to make him tolerate contact over and over and over and over again. But to the kid that can get to the weight room and actually train, you're hindering his progress
Mm-hmm.
because you're overworked, right? So, you can't just look at Instagram and see Julian Smith doing things for likes and start bringing that shit to the gym talking about,
Good luck.
right, talking about this is how I'm going to get big. Because I literally today said to somebody, I was training arms today, and, just for shits and giggles, we did one final set, 50 reps of preacher curls. Now, we were exhausted, we were tired. But that's just the way it used to be done. I felt like I had a little left and I just needed to finish. And scientifically, does it necessarily make sense? No. They would say it's overwork, they would say it's overtraining, all this stuff. But I still get bigger, I still change, and my partner used to get laughed at, G, he damn near bigger than a bunch of people in the gym now, right? So obviously it works. So I say that to say I just think a lot of people are afraid of hard fucking work, right? Like I think a lot of people get caught up in trying to out-science it and trying to figure out the next best way that's a little easier, and it's not easy.
Right.
There's no way around it. There's not a great powerlifter. There's not a great Olympic lifter. There's not a great bodybuilder out there that's ever done it and it's been easy, right? You agree with that?
Absolutely.
That being said, how do you take those principles? Because we got a lot of bodybuilders that listen to us. Those principles and switch. Because you've done a great job with Shell. You've done a great job you did a great job in developing Chris's back. How do you apply those principles? Oh, and his legs completely changed working with you. So, call you the leg master. How have you applied those principles and brought them into the physique transformation sector?
So, and it's funny, like, all right, bringing up Chris, right? So, I remember about a month in after training him, and he stopped me at one point and was like, you kind of had me worried for a second. Now, before I get into that, I definitely don't disagree with, like, what you were saying about being able to push past failure, all that. But I do feel like some people just, like, their bodies, you need to kind of scale back every now and then, but then still be able to push the threshold somehow. Periodization. So, simply, I would say for those of you that know what RP is, rate of perceived exertion, people base it off of different things. I obviously base it off of how you feel. The toughness of it usually is on a scale of 1 to 10. So with Chris, when I was training him, we would still train hard, but we would start off, that first week of doing the program, leaving at least 2 reps in the tank, but focusing on technique, focusing that he's connecting with the muscle that he needs to be connecting with, which that's huge, right? When it comes to hypertrophy,
absolutely,
not just throwing the weight around,
absolutely, flexing, not just moving weight,
and then as the weeks go on, we push it a little bit further. By the time we get to week 3 or 4, depending on if that's when I'm going to change up, that's when we go balls to the wall. That's when we go and I'm pushing him past failure, pretty much frying him up, but I'm building him up to it. I was building him up to it. I do the same thing with Shell, and her legs have grown insanely. Obviously, everybody already knows that. I'll throw it out there, like her ass is the stubborn part, so we're still working on that, but it has grown. But yeah, that's the way that I implemented it. I was actually messing with accommodating resistance with him, which mainly with chains, some band work, just to get that extra squeeze at the top, and it just worked out perfectly, man. Like it was, we were just making crazy progress.
So the bands is how to create that mechanical tension throughout the entire movement, just at certain spots, because a lot of times the strength curve is different at different spots in the movement, right? Right. So the bands help to even all that out. Right. Okay. So yeah, I hate using bands, but that's just because I'm not MacGyver and I'm like figuring all this shit out. But I definitely see the value in them. Do you use bands when you train? Sometimes.
Especially when we do a powerlifting week. Because that's the most important thing, like we were just describing. The balance on the powerlifting meet, you have to be both arms at the same time, because nobody's arms are exactly the same length, right? So you have to make sure you're exactly right every single time. So you use bands and chains for constantly. And I like chains more than bands because one, I like the sound.
Same.
Right?
But they look cool.
And they look cool, right? But more importantly, the fact that they get harder as you press it up.
Sure.
They will definitely get you brutally strong. Messing with chains is great. For me, like I said, to me, top tier accommodating resistance is definitely the bands. They're definitely a lot harder. They will fucking fold you.
Right.
But like I said, to me, bands really, really, really teach you how to fucking strain, how to grind. And that's basically what I'm known for with my shit. I'll die before I let it go.
Getting that 1 meter per second push with bands is really hard. What do you think about the bamboo bar?
Well, I ain't gonna stop being lazy, but maybe I'll hire you to do it so you can set it all up for me.
So,
And
I love figuring out how to set it up.
I'll pay you to do it. So.
What do you think about the bamboo bar and hanging like kettlebells something off of it? I've never done it before.
It definitely has its place. I haven't used it a lot when it comes to my people, but it's definitely great when it comes to your working them stabilizers and all that. Like,
Sure.
But as far as that, like, it doesn't have like a lot of benefit,
that's
in
my
my opinion. But like I said, like and sometimes it kind of makes the training fun.
Exactly. Makes it different for sure.
It makes it completely different because then you're like, oh shit, let me see what I can get up to. And you're almost cracking yourself in the face with it. But then that's where the dangerous shit comes in. And obviously you don't want to get hurt in training. But, yeah.
So, if the listeners listen to this and they're like, okay, I really, really want to get my delts bigger, right? And you're let's just take barbell overhead press, right? Now, are you a believer that laterals are more important, pressing more important, or it's all important?
To me, it's all important.
Okay.
I don't count anything out really.
Okay. All right. So we're taking a barbell press. We're gonna go 4 weeks. We're leaving 2 reps in the tank on that first week to maximize control, technique, and movement. Week 2 looks like what?
We'll take it. We'll take it to another, like leaving at least 1 rep, maybe even a half, if that. Like we'll take it to almost failure.
Okay.
Almost failure.
What's week 3 look like?
Balls to the wall. We take it all the way.
So you're like me, and you're switching programs up every 3 to 4 weeks.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
I mean, unless like somebody's still like seeming to be progressing with a certain movement, then like we might keep it in, or shit. Like if the program all around was great, obviously you're gonna adapt at some point. You can still keep the program, but then add tempo, change a little variables.
Yeah, sure. I'm a big AB guy. Like I love to plan AB. Like if we did this angle 1 week, we're doing a similar movement but a different angle. Or if we did it with barbells 1 week, we're doing dumbbells next week, and back and forth over a 6-week period before I scrap it completely. But I love the variety week to week.
Mm-hmm.
And then and then on week 3 we're going back to what we did and see if we can beat everything we did on week 1 and like that. Like that keeps me intrigued and I've seen great progress with clients with that. I'm just not a guy that likes to come in and do the same thing every week. That's just not my thing.
Me on the other hand, I can do the same thing every day, and because that's honestly how I teach my people. Great, you want to walk? Fine, you can go walk. But here's the deal: it's 30 minutes. I need you to see how far you walk in 30 minutes. Next week, you walk the same 30 minutes. You need to add this amount of time. And the same thing that I do in the workouut. Yeah. Okay, great. We're going to do X, Y, Z if we're doing a lifting day, if we're doing a cardio weights day. We're going to shoot for this many reps in this amount of time. Or we're going to shoot for this many reps for this much weight for that much time. And every week we're going to add a little bit more. But here's the tricky part. Most of my clients are women. You put I don't want to get big. You're not going to get big, I promise. And you're years away from getting big, I promise.
Right. Always that misconception.
Right.
But I'm trying to get bulky.
You won't, don't worry.
Although, I do find that the women that are like trying to be like models and dancers and things like that, like if you do train them with a lot of volume, they grow. Mm-hmm. They grow. So, I almost feel like the high intensity training works better for them to build their strength without building their size. Right. Kind of like a lightweight lifter or a lightweight, someone who's got to wrestle at a certain weight, where you don't use quite as much volume because they start getting too big too fast, where we're just trying to build that strength, right? So, how do you feel about that?
No, I completely agree. I mean, obviously you gotta, you've been doing this shit for years, so you kind of already know certain body types, how they might respond. Sorry, to the certain stimulus of like the higher volume versus the lower volume and all that. But that's what it's all about. It's just like paying attention and experimenting. It's all really an experiment when it comes to this training shit and coaching. You know,
'cause everybody's so different. It's like that's the beautiful part about it. 'Cause it's such a puzzle, right? And trying to figure everybody out. And you said I do this shit for years, but see, anyone that knows anything about evolving, keep young people around you, because young people keep you fresh. They keep you like, you think if I didn't see some of the results you've created, that I wouldn't be like, let me get back on this a little harder, you know, because you do anything for a long period of time. If you don't keep challenging yourself, don't keep learning new things, you get stale. You know, so that's what I love about my team. You know, the team we have is that we're always, you know, he's looking at me going, why the hell does it take you an hour to get through that? Because he's getting through it in 35 minutes. And I'm like, all right, what can I take from him? What nugget of information can I take from him? What is he doing that I'm maybe not doing because I'm doing it in an older school way, right? So, you know, like it's, and it doesn't make his method more right, but it does make it different and another tool in my tool belts, right? So that's what I love about our roundtables and what we're doing as our company. And I just think, like, when it comes to our coaches, I don't think there's a better group of coaches in the state anywhere, you know, of what we're doing, you know, like as a collective group.
Yeah, of course.
You know what I'm saying? So I think we're onto something, and we have champions, and you know, we have Kate as a champion. You're competing as a champion. I'm competing as a champion. You know what I mean? Like we're all doing something to prove what we're putting in our athletes, right? So, but I love that. So that brings me to this other fad that we see. It's like different challenges. What was the challenge you said?
My buddy just posted it just now. I just got it. I'm not gonna put him on blast by saying his name online, but he's doing
Earl.
this 1,000 deadlift challenge,
And then
for the month of April.
So they're
He's deadlifting 1,000 reps.
1,000 reps.
Yeah, trying to find his calendar for it.
And they're deadlifting every day.
Every single
5 days,
day.
right?
7 days a week.
So the one I'm familiar with is Squattober, because one of my past partners used to look forward to it. Dre would do Squattober.
That's probably the thing I just pulled up.
What
What
was that thing he used to say all the time?
Bend the knee.
He's like, time to go bend the knee or something.
That was crazy.
He would always say, yeah. But I've never believed in anything that's just over the top. 'Cause I think the body, anything extreme, the body's going to equal react in the opposite direction, right? So
Remember the beast challenge?
the beach.
Beast challenge that you had a couple years ago?
Yeah. Hocassin Athletic Club had that. Yeah, that was pretty crazy. But the Squattober and things like that, what is your feeling on programs like that? And is there any benefit other than
Death.
incredible discipline?
Fucking your knees up, frying up your CNS. I mean, oh man, I obviously don't agree with it. I would never. I mean, especially with deadlift, man. Shit, I don't have my people deadlifting even for the most part twice a week. It'll usually be once, and that'll be on the dynamic day, you know. But yeah, when it comes to doing that every day, there's so much on your joints, man. Squatting, like, come on. Yeah, no. And that's one of the reasons why, like, what do you say? Like the regular linear periodization people, like, especially they don't change out bars, they don't change up variations. Like, over time, they start to get injured, and they'll get injured fast. And then when it comes to squatting every day, yeah, you'll get injured real fast, man. Now, I guess maybe to get somebody moving, something fun, but there's still better ways to do that.
I think from the aspect of athleticism, in terms of challenging yourself to see if you can do it, but for the physical benefit, I think it's extremely inefficient.
I can see, like, yeah, sure, pushing yourself mentally when it comes to doing shit like
Yeah,
that. Sure.
It's kind of like the old. But I just can imagine they're doing a different type of squat routine every single day. Well, 5 days a week, weekends off, and which is way more sensible than that deadlift challenge 7 days a week.
Bruh, 1,000 deadlifts in a month.
Yeah.
and increasing he's increasing the weight.
Right. About like what is it? Just
He
5
started
each
off.
week?
He started off at 95 pounds, and did like 25 or 30 for the first day, and added to 135, and did a couple more. That's crazy. He's halfway through. That's crazy.
That's wild.
Your CNS is fried. Everything is fried.
That's what I'm saying.
Can't walk.
I would like to see how he feels when it's all said.
That's what I'm asking.
Yeah, ask him.
You alright, bro? It's like, you alright, bro? Oh, this is his first month on TRT too, so he's.
Well, yeah. I mean, when you first do TRT, you might be in the gym for 4 hours doing the same movement because you just can't believe how good it feels. You'd be like, I remember the first time I did TRT, I was curling for like 3 hours, man. I just said, this is
I was
great.
ask you too. So typically TRT, like a couple of clients I've had over the years, low test. They have low testosterone, and they'll get TRT prescribed to them.
Yeah.
Put it back at regular baseline. So what if somebody like myself who has above average testosterone naturally, I would regular prescribe TRT. Nothing crazy, just like from your doctor. But how would that affect you any differently than somebody who has low T?
Da-da-da. Superman. No, I mean,
Because it's a low dosage.
yeah, I think what you got to remember is TRT is supposed to put you back to where you have a healthy level of testosterone. If you already have a healthy level of testosterone, it's going to put you at a super physiological dose of testosterone, which is going to make you feel incredible. And it's like euphoric. It's like people often, this is a perfect example, people often go, why would females do that to the level where it changes their look, their characteristics? So like,
see that today.
and when you're on, a female's on testosterone, they get to feel more like us. Less emotional, more problem-solving oriented, more, their focus is incredibly different. Their energy levels are incredibly different. They're strong, they're confident, they're like all the things that you hear women struggle with. And a lot of men struggle with these things too, but you hear young ladies and women as they get older, they struggle with these things. All that's gone. They're empowered beyond belief when they're on because they have a hormone profile that fits more like us, right? So, it's and they're like, they metabolize food better. They hold fat differently. Like everything changes. And it's like, you got to be like, oh, wait. Look in the mirror.
Right.
You got the same thing I got. Stop.
The same barber.
But what ends up happening, honestly, is like you just feel so. It's almost like a euphoria to them. So, because one of my ex-wives did some very small amount, and one of the comments she made to me, "This is what you guys feel like all the time. This is fucking great, right?" So, and she wasn't hooked on it to that level, so we stopped. It was very easy for her to stop, but she felt amazing. And, if you're already a lifter and you're enjoying the improvements and all that kind of stuff, doubling that, it's no different than a guy who jumps on a higher dose. If you're unsure about it, I tell people all the time, don't do it. Because you will never feel the same without it. Right? It's like introducing yourself to being a superhero and then trying to take away. Yeah, because like when I train, I'll look somewhat normal, and then all of a sudden, like the pumps I get are fucking stupid, crazy.
I always fuck with him. But when I walk out on the floor and he's training, he's walking around like this.
Yeah, it's like
know,
supersize me for real.
Right.
Well, that's because the increase in red blood cell count, the increase in oxygen I can get into the muscle is just crazy. Now, everybody doesn't respond like that. I mean, you see people all the time, they're on gear. You're like, you're on gear? That's kind of dumb, right? Yeah. But the hyper responders, which you don't know until you try,
I can't wait.
they're going to, and some people respond like their strength levels just, it's crazy. Your contractile tissue firing at a higher level than it already does.
Yeah, see, that'd be my problem.
It's
I
just
rip my pecs off the bone,
As a-
bicep tears.
Well, what we do is we tell everybody, look, whatever you think you can do, keep an RP of 8. and then slowly progress into it. We don't, and we don't ever go with somebody new to it and start training balls to the wall, because your muscles grow faster than your tendons, right? So your tendons need time to thicken up and tighten up to be able to hold that resistance. But yeah, I mean, it's I think every man over the age of 40 should be on some sort of TRT, right? It would stop a lot of other health problems that we end up having because our testosterone level drops so low. And the issues we have now with low T, that's stuff that is newer because the life expectancy keeps getting higher and higher. So you're dealing with longer, you got to figure our testosterone levels naturally start dropping at 26 years old. Our growth hormone levels start naturally dropping as we hit our 30s. So when you have those, when you look at it from that perspective, you got a whole lot of life, whereas before cats were living to 45 and 50. You got a whole lot more life that you're living suboptimal. You're not living your best life because you can't perform. And think about it. How many, what happens with women as they get older? Their sex drive goes to the roof. And we can't perform no more. What's that? That's a whole lot of angry people.
And that's even when they hit 40, right?
Yeah, 40.
Yeah, their sex drive goes to the roof. They get better.
Yeah.
And we drop it. No wonder everybody unhappy.
What the shit?
Right,
They can't have kids anymore.
Yeah, right.
The kids are done now.
not necessarily.
I mean, yeah, it's not
now.
true, but
Not now. I mean, shoot, they unscrambling eggs all the time.
I had my cousin at 43.
You're like, sorry for
This
the
is what,
political incorrectness.
This is a what, 02? She had me at 43 at 02.
Yeah, I mean,
That's oops.
For sure. No question.
That's
But-
oops.
I guess the point is the pharmaceutical industry knows they would lose a whole lot of money if they made it so the standard was testosterone therapy for men. And you can see it. You go into areas what only actors and actresses can look great after 50. These cats look like they 30 years old.
Oh no, Michael Hearn natural, bro.
I mean,
Michael Hearn natural, bro.
Michael Hearn's my man, so
Them
you
duck
know.
eggs, dog. It's them duck eggs.
You fuck with Michael?
I like Michael
He's a
Hearn.
good dude, bro. I can tell you this.
We've
Ain't
done
nobody
a-
out training him.
We've done
No,
we've done a
He's a
couple
hustler.
guest appearances together, and every time we see each other, it's big hugs and catching up. And
He's a good dude.
he's a genuine individual.
He's a good
Broke
dude.
down the whole game to me about how to get into acting and all that kind of stuff. So he is successful because he is relentless in his work ethic.
Bro.
So
4 a.m. every day, him and that dog.
yeah, I mean, but it's that's how he makes his living, right? He's been on more covers than anybody else
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
in the fitness industry, and he has looked the same. And that's why I tell people, drugs or no drugs, it's not like you're seeing crazy differences in him. It's not like you've seen him at one event and he was downsized,
Right.
another event he was big. He's always the same.
Yeah, he's
And what and if you look at him from his gladiator days, he was the same size. It's just now he's harder.
Right.
Yeah.
Right? So
Yeah.
is he doing some growth hormone? Wouldn't surprise me. But heavy loads of testosterone? I don't really think so, because he's been that size for years. And the thing is, I can maintain a regular healthy 250 milligram dose, and I did it for 2 years. I barely dieted. I kept my abs the whole time, and I stayed around 240 pounds. It was very easy for me to do that because I already had that level of muscle maturity and that muscle. As soon as I started doing a little more to get ready for the Masters 270, just like that.
Wow.
So, and right now I've been dieting a little bit, so I'm mid 260s, low 260s. But it doesn't, it's my body's so used to training
Right.
and eating well and holding on to muscle tissue for so long, it'd probably be very hard for me to get down below 230. Without extreme dieting. But what when you deal with clients and they go, how do you feel about fit your macros and stuff like that?
Ask me that again.
Okay, so client comes in, they say, I want to follow this diet, but I just want to make everything fit. I just want to say, I want to do, if I got 100 grams of carbs, it doesn't matter where I get the carbs from. I want to be able to pick and choose. When you're doing menu plans for people, do you feel it's more important that they follow certain types of foods, or that they just get a certain amount of, they get a number?
Usually I do like the certain types of foods, and mainly where it's placed throughout the day.
More nutrient timing.
More nutrient timing, and you know what you should keep a little bit further away from training versus what you should have around the time of training. Like I do believe in that. Like I feel like I was talking to somebody the other day. Obviously, you guys are a little bit more advanced than me when it comes to nutrition. I'm getting better. Now, if we're talking just regular, everyday person lifestyle,
Which you're more advanced than any of the people listening, so go ahead. Tell us what you think.
man. If they're doing their own thing, obviously I'm like, okay, well, if you're just trying to get started and just keep it simple, I do basically believe in the calories in versus calories out, but obviously you have to know how many calories you should be taking in. So you still have to try to figure that out.
Right.
But if you're really trying to make the changes or perform better, then you do need to have everything in order. Macros should be where they need to be for you when it comes to the carbs, the proteins, and the fats. And then, of course, you know, it depends on what you do throughout your day, you know, as to where fats should be higher than carbs or vice versa.
Yeah. So, when you're doing, have we done this? We haven't really done this discussion, right? Are all calories not equal?
No.
We have.
We have?
Yeah.
I don't think we've done it. I think we made fun of people, but I don't know if we seriously
Well,
done
you
it.
remember, I got the clips. So.
Well, tell me. Well, since
You got clips.
you add very little.
Did you
so
put 'em in?
Add something here.
Calories in, calories out is not always the case in regards to.
Chris, we talked about it.
Yes.
Yes.
So we did, but essentially is depending on what your goal is. Like you were just talking to an office, like literally with her man and her. That man's trying to go to a whole nother weight class, so he's just trying to put on weight in general. So for him, calories in, calories out, but he's squatting like 800 pounds. Yes, he still needs to be on it in comparison, but him compared to Joe Snow that's trying to just lose some weight, calories in, calories out ain't the same shit.
So he can do the English muffin diet.
Well, the guy...
The egg McMuffin diet.
Yes, which we
Hashtag.
have talked
That
about.
JM. That JM.
He can get away with that,
Yeah, sure.
but average Joe can't.
Right.
Because not even can't train to that intensity of him because he's squatting 800 pounds. You're not squatting that. 1. 2, if you're doing that, how are you using that energy efficiently? Like, let's say you're young, you're 20 years old, you're 200 pounds, you're not morbidly obese, but you're overweight. How do you know, 1, because like we said, you don't know how to fail properly. Like, just use that for example. If you don't know how to do advanced techniques and stuff like that, you can't put that same intensity in to truly get those calories back as a novice. So, calories in, calories out, yeah, I could say, oh, you know, I'll eat a whole box of pizza, but I'm going to go do HIIT for 30 minutes, I'm going to do a max effort upper, and then an hour
when
carbs.
you take it to
So-
that extreme, obviously,
So I
it's
don't think
like,
I think that we're trying to say though is like protein calories are different than carbohydrate
For
calories.
sure.
That's
And
not
how your
Okay.
body responds to it.
okay. So we'll hit that one.
Let's say all calories aren't the same.
Well, what I was thinking was this, right? No, they're not. Because we take in more protein, we make a higher protein diet because the thermic effect on protein is substantially higher than the thermic effect on any other nutrient, right? Obviously, if we're taking in fat and we get our body to be better at absorbing and metabolizing and assimilating fat, then we can take a little less calories because fat calories are taking a little less volume because fat calories are more dense than any other calorie, right?
Right.
So I can get more out of less volume, right? So you got a person who has been through lap band surgery or gastric bypass,
That's right.
giving them a higher fat diet with lower carb, they can get further along with that because they can get more calories out of those 2 ounces, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm feeling on that. I guess what I'm trying to say is Frosted Flakes ain't the same as sweet potato.
no.
That's what I'm trying to say.
The glycemic index is completely different.
Right. But there's a whole school of thought out there that says calories a calorie.
Show me the results that they work.
Well, here's what I will tell you. I think when it comes to getting just skinny, I don't care how much muscle I maintain. I don't care what comes off. I don't care whether it's muscle or fat. I just want to lose weight.
Skinny ain't healthy though, because I have a friend who's almost diabetic at 20 and had abs.
So that
Well,
that's
extreme.
So like, no, real shit. He drinks soda every day, never drink water, nothing. Say, yo, you chill out, nothing, you pre-diabetic.
So you got to look at it from a different standpoint, right? The way that American culture is situated is we are hyper fixated on thin, on skinny.
No,
You know what?
No,
you think so now?
Not now.
There is nowhere else in the world.
In your generation, maybe, but our generation, no. Because look about it. Nike has a overweight model, like
Agreed.
the what's it called, the mannequins. Mm-hmm. So they're selling over, and I saw this on Joe Rogan years ago. But it's a mannequin.
Cedeno Sports Illustrated cover. Got it. I'm
Yeah.
with you, but that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, America has built the culture of the weight idea of being the be all end all to being healthy or fit, right? They created the idea. So now they're going completely counterclockwise and saying, we don't care which body looks like. Everybody's a 10. No. No.
I agree with that.
So the question as fitness professionals, health professionals, whatever you want to call us,
Fitness.
you know, the idea is, Mr. Client, you got to understand that I get it. The number on the scale says X, but Arnold Schwarzenegger at the Olympia was 245 pounds. I weigh 228. That ain't that much difference. I look nothing like him, and we the same height.
But we're, like you said, Fred says we're going to forever going to be losing.
Exactly.
Losing to, like you said, the potato chip effect.
Exactly. So the question is, how do we change the habit? So, Mr. Client, here's what I'll tell you. I can let you eat whatever you want every single day. It don't matter. But your results won't change. If you want to lose weight, shut your mouth shut.
But also, this is a problem too. Is I agree with you. That's the case. We're all doing this because we know that's the fact.
Right.
But then you get a client like I had, the dancer, who she said, I don't care what the scale says. And we talked about this in the meeting last week or 2 weeks ago, whatever, and saying, well, I asked her.
No, she cares what the scale says.
Yeah, she cares what the scale says. And I was like, so you're telling me if I get you to look however you want to look, she's 60-something years old, look how you're going to look, perform how you want to perform, be the best shape of your life, but if that scale doesn't change, are you going to be satisfied? She's like, no. So,
minus the skin.
So that's the
60-something years old. You can't
whatever.
That's the fight, though, right? It's how do we educate the consumer or the American public at large to tell them that, listen, it's more than just the number on the scale. The number on the scale is like a thermometer. The thermometer can say it's 80 degrees outside. Great, shorts, tank top, but you go outside, it's thunderstorm. It's still 80 degrees,
Right.
but it's thunderstorm.
So what I do when I'm setting up somebody who's a true non-athlete,
Lifestyle.
they just, my man is coaching basketball. He just needs to get thinner because he just wants to look better and feel better, right? I tell him, give me the 6 foods you want.
Yeah.
Any breakdown. The only thing I won't do is pizza, donuts. Nutritional value is trash on those. So when I do that, but almost everything else, I can do. If you tell me potato chips, can you deal with the Quest chips or something like that? But I will tell them to give me 6 foods, and most of the times I can come up with a diet they will adhere to.
Right.
Because what's the best diet? The one you're going to
stick
adhere
to.
Doesn't
Right.
matter if I put this amazing diet up there that you're not going to follow. It's for nothing. Because at the end of the day, you know as well as I do, once you start seeing results, you're going to follow it more and more and more.
Facts.
Right?
Yeah.
It's like that's the motivational part. So I just got to get you locked in to see the results. And once you start seeing the results, then I can pretty much do what I want to do.
Right.
But I got to get you there first, right?
That's right.
So most of the time, and what I've also learned is I underbid the calories. So I'd like to start everybody with about 12 times their body weight. for a diet, right? So, you know, but what I typically have started doing is 10 to 11, right? I'd rather you come back to me and tell me, God, I was hungry the whole time. You were perfect? Yeah. Oh shit, we lost 6 pounds? Okay, now let me add 10% to it. I'd rather do that, and I didn't used to do that. But what I found is when I feed people to their full potential, if they don't get results in the first 2 weeks, it's hard to keep their attention. And they start questioning and all that stuff. So now I underbid the calories and let them come back and say, I'm starving. Okay, I can add 5%. And because that's easier to keep them engaged as long as they're getting results.
So you set the expectation. Like, I don't know, for me, most of the people that I deal with are dumb educated, like they're doctor, like PhDs or whatever. So they understand the science, they understand what they're supposed to do, but it's the accountability and sticking to it. And I've got dinner with this person on Friday and I have to go with this on Wednesday, whatever it is. So it's how do I accommodate the rest of those calories? And I got it, and that's where I have the heart to heart. It's like, how bad do you want it?
Proteins and veggies.
You know, and not only that, dry cooked proteins and veggies. It needs to be just a chicken breast, no sauces, no seasonings, no nothing.
Yeah, I find that, you know, when it deals with professionals, because they're out and about so often,
Yep.
And they're on the go, I can't create more stress for them.
Exactly.
Right. So I tell them all the time, I don't need you to count calories when you're traveling. Right. Like, you know, I have some people that be on business trips every week. Right.
Yep.
What I need you to do is be faithful to this approach when you go out of town or when you're not in your home. Protein, veggies, fruit. I don't need you to measure, but I need you to touch nothing but those 3 things. If you can commit to that, then you won't go backwards when you're away.
That's close to what I do. So one of the things that it keeps that extra point of contact for me is if you're going away and you're serious about it, I'll know where you're going to be. I'll do the extra work. Okay, you're at this hotel? Perfect. I will go 3 miles around
and tell you what's available.
And tell you what restaurants to go to. Okay, which restaurants do you think you guys are going to hit? You go, that one, that one, that one? Cool. I'll go online. I'll get the menu, pull it up, scroll it, circle, send it back to them. Because it does something different too, right? It creates a different level of professionalism for the client.
Sure.
They can still go out with their coworkers.
Well, that's why they're paying you $1,000 a month.
$1,000 a month.
Right there for that. But what I'll do is tell them, and that's amazing customer service, right?
Right.
And they should pay you $1,000 a month if you're gonna do that. What I'll do is tell them, look, you can almost always get grilled chicken breast or grilled steak anywhere you go. Ask for without butter, and ask for a plain steamed vegetable without butter. You cannot go wrong. I don't care how much of it you eat.
That's it.
You can't go wrong. Because no one's going to overeat on that stuff.
Ever.
Right? And don't snack.
That's the hard part.
Right? Don't snack. Because that's where people kill themselves. Condiments and snacking crushes more diets than whatever. Because whatever, if you snack on Wednesday, you done forgot about it on Saturday. You don't even remember.
You know what's crazy? This is one of those things, right? It's for the brunchers. So I got the brunchers crew that they go out on Sundays, right?
Right.
Well, I'll say perfect this week, blah 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 blah. But the scale didn't move. I said, so where'd you go for brunch? Well, how do you know I went to brunch? Because the scale didn't move. Because I have you in a 500 calorie per day deficit. 500 calories per day, times 7 days a week. If you do nothing else different, you're gonna lose 1 pound.
Yeah.
If nothing changes,
No.
you lose 1 pound. So where'd you go? Oh, went to here. So I would do this exercise with my clients. I'll tell them, I'll say, let's just use Cheesecake Factory. I don't go there. Let's just use it because everyone knows what it is. Cheesecake Factory, appetizer, 250 calories.
Shit, you could undercut that.
I'm just first glass of champagne, another 250. That's 500 calories. Then you got your meal, 1,000 calories. That's 1,500. That's if you get just the skinny plates. It's not even counting the real plates. Oh, you're there, cheesecake, 1,000 calories. So now you got 2,500 calories.
You just blew my whole thing for the week.
So that's why, and that's just for that one meal.
Yeah.
You still have breakfast. You still have dinner. So everything you worked your ass off for all week, you threw it away.
Yeah.
On one meal, and they took it like this.
Yeah.
And and that's just at the Cheesecake Factory. That's not at Busboys and Poets. That's not at, wherever else you went. This is just the normal run-of-the-mill place.
I know.
So the question then becomes,
God
You
forbid
wanna
you try to
pour
go
the
cheap
leg.
and have some chicken and waffles. It's a wrap.
Right? So it's like, and then you gotta break it down to people sometimes. Like, yo, that candy bar is 240 calories. How fast take you eat it?
Yeah.
3 minutes?
Yeah.
4 minutes?
Take you 25 minutes to burn.
On the
it all.
Stairmaster, it takes you 25 minutes.
Yeah.
Not on the treadmill.
Yeah.
On the
It's
Stairmaster.
even worse if you drink that soda that has 60 grams of carbs in the 20 ounces.
Right.
You're like, damn.
200 calories in a
Oh,
soda.
man. 240 calories on an orange soda.
So you have a soda and a candy bar. Bro, you're on the treadmill for an hour.
Yeah.
The Stairmaster for an hour. Not the treadmill, the Stairmaster for an hour.
Yeah.
I've done that shit.
Good luck.
Yeah,
It's the devil. I did it one day because I had something on my mind, and I was dead.
Shit, I got 850 after this.
I did one better for you. I did a show. My coach said, no extras tonight. Go get a steak, potato. You can have a salad. 'Cause my thing is salad with full fat dressing. I love it. And I know you love the full fat dressing. You have that. But after that, get right back on the diet. I was pissed, right? Because after the show, you look forward to that meal after the show. And I had all this shit planned for that night. I was gonna eat till about 1 o'clock in the morning, then go to bed, and wake up the next day, start my diet for the next week. So I said, man, fuck this. I'm gonna go in between. I went and did cardio while eating snacks. I did 2 hours of cardio, and every 15 minutes I ate another snack out of the machine.
Like that video to do that playing it, doing the abs.
Yo, I remember.
Oh shit!
During prep, I remember.
I think,
it's. I missed. You had me this week. You had 90 minutes of cardio for me, and one night I don't know how I
Not
missed.
at one time.
What you mean one time? That shit was for 2 months.
I said not at one time.
I'm like,
Oh, wait.
what?
Well, let me finish my statement because I missed it one night. I don't know what happened, and I know making it up ain't no such thing. But for my mentality, that next morning I got up and did an hour and a half of fucking cardio.
Bruh.
Bro,
I teach it every Saturday morning. I teach a 50-minute class every Saturday morning. You know what? It's free. People love it,
Right.
when I had
and I enjoy it.
when I had my extra motivation that year, I was getting ready for my last show. Shoot, I made a point to do 80 minutes of cardio when I was. You know what I'm saying? I do 80 minutes of cardio a night, man.
Him and Rosie Palm, man.
On the machine.
Yeah,
On the
whatever.
machine.
Whatever.
I'm serious. On the machine, I just do 80 minutes of cardio.
Anyway, that's about
Yeah.
that time.
What was the
Right, we got it.
So, since y'all discrediting my story, I meant on the cardio machine, asshole. But anyway, before we get out of here, this man used to get up at 3 a.m., go to work until about 5, come here and be with me until about 9, 10 o'clock at night. How did you have the motivation to do that?
Fucking wanted it.
That's it.
Plain and simple. Like that. I wanted it. And I knew one day I was going to be able, keep pushing. I wanted to be in here full time. There you go. I put up with that for what? Was it like 2, maybe 3? Yeah, because I think
It
it
was
was
3 because of COVID. You
Yeah.
started after COVID.
and I started after COVID.
Did
yeah.
you start out the cook?
Yeah, I jumped in full time the first week of December 2020.
Wow.
I remember that because it was right before my meet, right before that Christmas Carnage that year.
I remember.
Yeah,
Because I was hyping shit. I'm like, you get to come to the meetings.
but this is kind of where it's like you can throw in that there is no excuse, man. There's no excuse to get the shit done. Was it hard? Fuck yeah. Were there times where I was like tearing up? Fuck yeah. But when you want something, you're gonna push yourself, man.
At the end of the day, that's what it boils down
That's
to,
it.
bro.
Was it?
That's the end of the day when it boils down to. You're right.
Yeah, absolutely. Ain't no fucking
Yeah,
excuse.
that's beautiful. Well, I'm extremely blessed to have you on my team, and I love to see your progression, all the things you're doing. I can't wait to see what great things you produce the rest of 2023. Good luck at your competition. I know you're going to kill it.
Yeah,
and
man.
for my co-hosts, Rashad and Walter, we love you. Thanks for spending some time with us. Remember, leave a comment, like it, subscribe. Peace.